Welcome to another episode of the Talking Shop podcast. I am Josh at Grand Slam in Rock Hill with Michael at Medium Rare Cards. I think it's Cobb / Jacobs in the background somewhere producing. Maybe not. He was. We are coming at you live tonight. This is not pre-recorded, so watch us live, interact with us. We're going to talk some shop, talk some new releases. Michael's going to give us the rundown of what's going to go on this episode.
Yes. Thank you, Josh. As usual, we're going to start things with the opening rip. Talk about things hitting the shelves at Grand Slam this week. We're going to jump behind the counter, talk about some news and notes from the hobby, answer some listener questions, grab a couple cards from the vault and show those off, and then wrap things up with Crazy Stat of the Week. But first, Josh, the opening rip. I was at the Salisbury card show this weekend.
I heard.
It was, for me, I didn't go. I went with a friend. I wasn't setting up. I didn't have the full setup going. I brought a couple graded cards and a box or two to see if I could just kill time while I was there.
You just mooched off his table.
I did. I was in full mooch mode. And saw a couple guys there, friends of the show. So shout out to you guys that stopped by the table, and I stopped by your table. So good to see the guys. It'd been a while since I'd been to a card show. So hey, Avery, yes, we decided to go live tonight. So
we were gonna record it, and we thought, you know what, Avery likes it live, so let's go live.
So so while I was at the show, one of the cards that I brought was that One Ring card I showed last week. It was like a PSA 10, One Ring. It was just the base.
Magic the Gathering, Lord of the Rings collab, if you're not familiar with it.
And I don't know anything about Magic the Gathering. I thought it was cool. I got it graded, got a 10. I figured that there's a collector out there that may want that in a 10. And there were a couple tables there that had Magic, right? And I hadn't told you the story, so I'm glad it's fresh.
Yeah, this is news to me.
Brought it to one table, and it was two dudes behind the table and another, I guess they were a friend of the guys or whatever.
Moocher off the table.
What's that? He was also a mooch.
Table moocher.
And I showed him the card, and I was like, "Hey, you guys may interested in this?" And this hasn't happened to me a lot. And I'm sort of a dude that I feel like I've got thick skin, not as thick as yours. You can take it. I can't. So I had to sort of bite my tongue. I didn't bite my tongue the way I should have. I'll tell you that story off the record, but they sort of scoffed at me, like literally out loud said, "Who would grade a card like this? It's just a base card."
What douches.
And yes, basically like threw it back in my face, like, you know, and I have never been on that side of things. I try to be as polite, even if somebody comes up to me and it's a card that in my brain I'm like, yikes.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, don't do that. If somebody comes up to your table, go ahead.
I thought you were going to say, I didn't think much about this card. I showed it off and someone offered me $200 for it and I couldn't believe it. And I came home with a wad of cash.
No, it was completely the opposite.
That card, here's what I'd say. This card has a story behind it because, yes, the one of this card was the big $2 million bounty. This is not that, but it's that card in the unnumbered version. And, I mean, when you think of the Lord of the Rings Magic the Gathering collab, you think of that one card. So, yeah, why I think it is dumb sometimes to get certain base cards. You mean to tell me they've never seen someone get a card graded that might have like a might just be a favorite of someone's, or I think they were just a little jealous or something like that.
I don't know what it was. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe Magic guys don't like cards graded because you can't. I guess you can't play with them. Then I don't. I don't know. I don't know. If you're a Magic person and you're watching this or listening to this, and you're like, yeah, don't grade Magic cards because
Well,
we
have
we,
you
we
have you have you looked on eBay and what that card goes for in a 10? I mean, if it's a $80 card or something like that, $50 card, then I would say,
yeah.
well, there you go. I graded it because if I got a 10, I can sell it for 50 or $80.
Yeah, I think raw it goes for $50. And so I was like, okay. So I was just shopping it around, but my goodness. This is a family friendly show. If it wasn't, I'd be calling you guys and having to bleep things out. But yeah, that pissed me off a little bit. Anyway,
Yeah, that
if you're setting up at a show and somebody comes up to you with a card and they're asking if you are interested in it, don't be a tailhole. I'll just put it that way.
John just stumbled into our stream and says, hello, John. Thank you for stumbling in. We are a podcast, a local card shop, and we just talk shop once a week. So welcome. Maybe you can subscribe or go back and watch some of the old ones if you want. We're just going to talk some shop a little bit. Yeah, I have people literally every day bring things in and ask me if I'm interested in them. And I have a store to represent, and I have a Google rating I have to keep in mind, but I'm always kind to these people. And we've had some, I won't name anyone specifically, or any shops specifically, but I heard a couple stories at the Nashville card show of customers that went into one card shop, were treated poorly, and then went to another card shop, and they'd say there was one, the two card shops were about 30 minutes apart, and the one card shop was telling us how a guy and his daughter went into the card shop, and the owner of the shop, who people know, but I won't name, because he's kind of well known, was just he cusses like a sailor, and he was cussing there in the shop with the dude just kindly said to him, hey, I got my 10-year-old daughter here. Would you mind, not swearing in front of her, something like that. Basically, he was told to go kick rocks. And so the card shop that's 30 minutes away said this guy came over there and he spent a couple $1,000s in the shop. And they said he's come back probably once a week and doesn't spend less than $1,000 and spends as much as $2,000 or $3,000 regularly. And this is someone that, they just gave him a poor service. So we've had that happen. When I don't think that's ever happened to us. We do have a bad Google review every now and again, and it's 99 times out of 100. It's people upset that we're not interested in their 80s and 90s junk, and we try to tell them as nicely as possible. But but we've had some of those local stories where other card shops in the area have really scoffed at people that bring cards in, or scoffed at them, or just not paid any attention to them. And then we gain them as a customer and they spend lots of money. So
I love stories like that. I tell you, there are a couple dealers at these shows, these local shows, that I've recategorized them. I've had bad experiences. I will be civil. I will be kind to them. I will be nice to them, but I will not spend a dime with them. Ever. There's just too many other dealers that are super great people that I would rather interact with. So anyway, that's my.
So how was the turnout at Salisbury, the Salisbury show?
It was, so James does a great job. Shout out to James. He does a great job promoting it. It was at that mall. You've been there before. Big room. I think there ended up being between 250 and 275 tables.
That's good size.
It wasn't, because of the amount of tables, I would say traffic was a little light, but steady. Like sometimes these card shows, it gets crazy for like a pop of an hour, and then things empty out. I think it was steady the whole day. Just a nice steady stream. and if your cards were priced correctly, then you were able to move some stuff. Again, even with basketball knocking on the door and Victor Wembanyama doing his thing, there just seems to be very little buzz around basketball. I think it's going to be a while before that happens. But hey, that just means if you're a basketball collector, this is the time to get in. So, but football still rules. And then there was a lot of people looking for. Shockingly enough, a lot of people looking for Bryce Harper. I think he's finally starting to get a little bit of hobby love. And had a couple people asking for Schwarbs. You got to be happy about that, being a Schwarber guy.
Yeah, I'm like totally torn. I want the Phillies and Schwarber to get a ring, but I'm like the Diamondback story and Corbin Carroll and everything's good, probably better for business. But I did sell a Bryce Harper rookie on Saturday out of the shop, so someone spotted one in the showcase and snagged it up. But
there's been some interesting things. I don't know what your crazy stat is, but I've seen some crazy stats about Harper's career versus Trout's career, and they're a lot closer than people think. I think, for a while there, Harper, I think he just gets a bad rap just because he's super intense all the time. And maybe opposing fan bases, they always try to villainize somebody on the other team. And a guy like him who tries really hard every play and is super intense and can come off abrasive is easy to make
he's a little polarizing.
He's a lightning rod, right? And you love him when he's on your team and you hate him when he's playing against your team. But I think the hobby and the sport, they're finally coming around that he's an all-timer, I think.
I should know this. Does he have a World Series ring?
He does. I think he won one with the Nationals, I believe.
If you know that for a fact, we need JP in this chat. Someone let us know if Harper has a ring. Because it would probably be a nice bump from
Anthony. Hard for Trout to be intense when he's hurt all the time. It's true.
Hey, he went 10 years without an injury. Give the guy a break.
Thanks for chiming in.
The golden boy Acuna is the one, and I love Acuna. And when he's healthy, he's dominant. But
yeah,
let's have him stay healthy for more than one season in a row before we crown him.
No kidding. All right, Josh, what's headed to the shelves this week? It's the last few times it's been sort of light, but it seems like it's starting to open up as far as releases go.
So I would still say it's light as far as like really hot product, those staple hot products that everyone waits for. We're still in a little bit of a lull there. There are some products that come out this week. We'll have most all of these in the shop. Starting with Wednesday, we've got Flux Basketball. That was that set that started out in Chronicles and got its own line. So not crazy price, and the cards look cool, and and it's a nice hobby product. So Flux Basketball is Wednesday. Origins WNBA is Wednesday. I am going to price that on the aggressive side. So if this is something that maybe y'all thought about dipping your toes in or checking out, my price will be good. And then for the we got Prism Draft Basketball. That is Wednesday as well. Tier 1 Baseball. That's probably the premiere of all of these products. That's Wednesday as well. And then Friday, Leaf Pop Century Decadence. I won't have that Friday. I might, but I usually don't. That's one I could probably get if anyone wants one, but not one we have many people asking about. But I know that's a cool product. You see a lot of those autographs in people's showcases when you go to shows, and it's like, oh, where did you get that John Stamos auto?
Right.
And it's out of products like that. And then Topps Inception Overtime Elite Basketball. I think we have that coming as well. That's a Friday product. For us, this product is on the horizon. We get to start selling it Monday. This is the new Paradox Rift Pokemon set.
Here, put that back on the screen again so people know what the product looks like.
It launches. It's Paradox Rift. It's the newest Pokemon set. It launches like a week from today. We get like we're a sanctioned store, so we get like a 1 week head start to sell it before other non-sanctioned stores or big box stores. And so last weekend we did pre-release. That's what these are, the pre-release kits. We did 2 pre-release tournaments last weekend. We're going to do 2 more this weekend, and then Monday we'll have the actual product for selling. So that'll be big. Avery says Bryce Harper has not won a ring according to Google. So when the Nationals won, I think Harper was gone. Soto was still there.
That's right. He missed it by a year, I believe.
Because he left, and then they won, and we're like, oh, this doesn't make him look very good. But
thank you.
So Avery. He could get a little more hobby love if the Phillies can do this year.
Back to the products that are releasing, I think it's well timed. And I don't know if this is on purpose, but for Leaf to come out with Pop Century on the heels of what I think was a successful Allen and Ginter release, because Allen and Ginter has that non-sport auto factor going for it. It's a great way. That product, if you have somebody sort of on the fringes that's not a sports person, but you want to share your love for the hobby, that Pop Century product is a good way to get somebody into the hobby. It's like, you don't have to be a sports person to get into this hobby. There are some Leaf Pop Century cards or the Allen and Ginter non-sports cards to where people can find an actor or actress or a pop culture person and chase those cards too. So
even Disney Lorcana, you're into Disney characters. There's a chase there as well. If we can ever get some of that product back in before the second chapter launches. But
speaking of that, wow, that's a professional segue to jump in behind the counter. This was sent to us over the weekend. Did you see this? Let me share my screen. This is
we're alone. I think you have to do this.
I know.
I think
here we go. Look at this.
Jacob has explosive diarrhea, and I think he had to go to the bathroom. Just kidding,
Jacob. Man. This Jacob shared this in the chat this weekend, but the Lorcana, this was the original set. So there was a set of 7 given out at D23 last year, and the PSA 10 set on the market. I don't know if this is closed yet, but my goodness, $30,000. $30,000 for Lorcana. And I ask this I bring this up to ask you, Josh, is this, if somebody brought this to the shop, they're like, hey, let me show you something, and you don't scoff at them like those other guys scoffed at me.
I don't.
You don't scoff at them. They brought this. Is this something that you or another shop your size, we're not talking about Burbank or these other big destination shops, but a local card shop like yours, is this something that a shop like yours would say, this is something we'll buy from you, obviously we got to make a little bit of money? Or is this something you're like, no, this is more of an eBay
this is a let us consign this for you?
It's a great call,
because there's not going to be any comps, and so that $29,900 is probably way more than what it would sell for, but it might not be either. It just takes the right person. And if this is a pop 1 for this set, this could mean something. The way this Lorcana set it's got some legs to it. I'm telling you, we get a call every day asking for if we've gotten more of it back in. We've been talking to the distributor. We're a sanctioned Lorcana store, so after we sold out of the first 1.5 waves, we're waiting on another wave, and we've been told it's coming, and maybe by the end of the month. We got about a week to go, but we can't run tournaments. We can't do anything. We can't buy singles and resell them because there's just nobody's been able to get their hands on enough of it to open. And we look forward to that time. I would love to deal in these cards, but we just need more product out, and that's a good problem to have. They just didn't print enough of this, and the demand was really good. And so chapter 2 is set for like November 17th, I believe, something like that, 14th. And we're going to have that chapter 2 on launch day. We'll have that product is already spoken for, but we would like another wave of chapter 1 before that hits. But yeah, without any comps like that, that's a consignment thing. We have a big eBay store, so if a customer's like, I'm having a hard time selling this, it might be because they just have a smaller eBay account, or someone's not comfortable spending $25,000 on something like that. But consigning it through us is a way to go.
Yeah. So Dave, on that note, Dave, and hello, Dave. Hadn't seen you around at any of the shows. Missed you in Salisbury this weekend. He's asking, what is your consignment fee percentage? I'm possibly thinking about looking at selling my 2020 Jalen Hurts Rainbow.
Oh, well, it's easy. We just split the money right in half with you, Dave. It's 50-50. No, I'm just kidding. It's typically like 10% after fees. We're open. We we don't do a ton of consignment, but we've done some, and it's usually on some of the higher priced items or collections like this. But yeah, I mean, what, eBay's going to take 12 or 13% after all the fees are taken care of, maybe 10% to us. Sometimes we'll do a flat fee. We're like, look, if it sells for this, what we've got it listed for, we'll do whatever. So yeah, just come and talk to us. You've got, we'll talk about potential card night over at the gym coming up. We're trying to pin down that date. Ooh, my phone just flashed. The powers that be told me he will get back to me ASAP on that date. So we're trying to pin down November 18th over at the gym, and stay tuned for that. But there you go, Dave. You could always throw it out on your table or someone else's table and see if you get any offers that way.
Let's do it. Absolutely. John, on the Allen and Ginter note, John just finished an Allen Ginter 2023 Braves. I guess that's all the Braves. Total 135 cards. That seems like a lot of Braves cards.
John, that does seem like an abnormal amount of Braves cards. Was that a typo? Allen and Ginter 2023.
Or is that the rainbow for all the Braves?
Yeah, give us some info on that.
Yeah, I would love to know that. And then, yes, a gym card. So love that. Love it. Oh, here's another story I wanted to, just because you're a card shop and we protect our own.
Yeah, I saw this.
So Boiling Springs, out of Boiling Springs, that's in the Spartanburg, Greenville area. They were robbed this weekend. So, and they posted this photo of the perpetrators. I'm not going to show the video, but if you go to their Facebook page, they do have a video of how it all went down. There's just no room for this, guys. No room for this. So if you recognize these folks, shut them down.
Yep. I guarantee you that box in his hand is a bunch of junk. He asked if they were interested in buying, and then he saw something juicy to steal. I think he stole a Playbook hobby box or some more. But when y'all sent this in the chat, I was like, oh, they're screwed. And Jacob was like, huh? I was like, well, I mean, you get this clear a picture out and the police are after it, there's not a shot this guy's going to get busted. So hope it was worth it.
Pinched. Yeah, let's get this guy pinched. Let's stop this, guys. Yes, George is like, grr, yes. There's no room for this, guys.
Yeah.
No room
the
for
good
this
news
in the
is
hobby
the good news is they always end up getting caught. Even the guy that broke into our store, he apparently has been arrested and is in prison in Tennessee. This guy's going to get caught. That picture's too clear. The video's too clear. The hobby, the industry is too tight knit. I mean, you rip someone off in a bad trade and the tri-state area will hear about it. So
yes,
That's the only good news. He probably I have no information of whether or not he's been caught or not, but I can assure you he will be.
I hope so.
We had
Sooner than
someone
later.
steal what cards did they steal? Pokemon, or I think this was a couple years ago, Magic the Gathering cards. And here's an example of how shops stick together. Stole cards from us, left, and we called the other game store here in Rock Hill, just said, hey, heads up, if this dude stole some cards, if you see these cards, XYZ, just, and sure enough, he tried to sell them in there either later that day or the next day. And they called, they killed some time. They called mall security to come over, and then mall security called the cops after they had gotten him and had him held there. And he went to jail, didn't go to jail because of the cards. He went to jail because they searched him and he had drugs on him. So he went to jail for drugs. We joke around like that dude's probably in jail, and the other inmates are asking him what he's in jail for, and he has to say stealing Pokemon cards. But
yeah,
like,
you're always reminded, right? You're always reminded most criminals, most crooks, most robbers, the only time they're really smart is like in a movie or in a television show. Most of the time, they're dumb as rocks. And so,
or the really smart ones you don't know about because they're smart and they don't get caught.
You never hear about them. All right, one last story, and hopefully the audio comes through. So, shout out to Jacob finding all kinds of stuff for us to talk about. So, this guy here, let me play the audio.
And I'm a fan of poker, by the way. You probably don't know that. I've played a lot of Hold'em in my day. If there is no autumn, we will just narrate it. So as you can see, this is a World Series of Poker tournament, and during one of the guys' turns, he's cracking boxes of Panini 1-in-1. This is that super high-end basketball.
Yeah,
I think they're like $1,000 a box or something like that, and he hit a redemption card there. So in his first box, he had a patch auto. I couldn't make out who it was.
Yeah, well, let's let it run through again. So he's asking folks if he could open a box of cards.
Man, Panini 1-in-1 is you get two cards. One is kind of an add-on. That's the and one, and then this is the one. It's always an autograph. Sometimes it's an RPA. So he had an RPA there. And these guys are like, what? And then he pulls out another box and says, hey, can I slice another one open? So, this goes opening cards. We've said it time and time again. Goes hand. This guy doesn't want any of those cards breathed on him. But opening cards goes hand in hand with gambling. So that does not surprise me at all that a person that likes to gamble, likes to play some cards, some high risk poker, is also a gambler when it comes to opening $1,000 2-card boxes.
Yeah. So before I go to the question that I have for you and for the folks in the chat, I want to. John shed a little light on the 135. All the base, the hot box, filigree, all the minis, except no number and Brooklyn back, all the relics and 3 odd. That's wow. Good on you, John. My question is, did you do this out of the packs, or did you collate this?
Not a chance.
Through eBay purchases or shows. I would love to get the breakdown of that. How many did you have to go hunting for, and how many did you pull?
So I know it all the base. We know the hot box, so that'd be the foil versions of all the base. Yeah. What's filigree mean? Is that just?
It's got that. It's that decorative outline.
Oh, yeah. Parallel. It's kind of a textured, decorative textured outline.
Yeah.
eBay, $760. Good for you, John. John, I needless to say, John's a Braves fan, right?
I would hope so.
I'm curious about, and 3 autos. There's only 3 Braves autos in that product. Let me guess. Acuna, Strider, and Albies. Before he answers, you tell us the answer, John.
Absolutely. Well, while John is dropping that into the comments, and thank you, John. We got to talking before, and you sort of scolded me. I was like, why are we talking about this? before we actually get on the podcast. But what are other events where there's some downtime between turns that would be appropriate to open a box of cards? Maybe not Panini 101, but just a box of cards. And the reason why I thought of this is on our monster trek home from the National, we look like complete degenerates because there must have been 300 wrappers, card pack wrappers that fell out of the car when we would stop for gasoline. So obviously a road trip, that was super fun. But what other events can you think of that would be appropriate?
This is a bad answer because it's kind of obvious, but I tend to do this when I'm at a card show and it's a little lull and I'm bored just sitting there behind my table. I usually walk around and buy a hobby box of something with some packs so that I can sit and open packs while I do that. So I will say I've done that. I joked around in the pregame and said, well, while you're getting a haircut, although it wouldn't work for me, but you could sit there and get your hair done.
Product, the one-on-one product would work for you. It's just a quick like wax or quick shave or whatever. I thought that if the weather was good, bring a box of, I wouldn't want it to be a real high-end box, but a nice box of cards like a Topps update that's coming out. I think during a round of golf would be fun, right? Out there waiting on your turn, and open up a pack, a couple packs a hole.
You could gamble those packs. Hey, furthest shot gets a pack,
That's
or
right.
you could
That's right.
Closest to the tee or whatever the hole.
I was thinking bowling would probably be another one to where you can bring a box of cards and between shots you can do that.
Yeah, I'm usually eating between shots, but that's true.
Little chicken grease on a card always helps, right?
Top golf would be great because you can actually.
That would be. Hey, there it is.
There it is.
There it is.
Because you can sit there at the table in the comfy chair, waiting your turn, because each turn takes like 10, 12 minutes.
Yep.
I just
all right. There it is. Next card night. It's going to be a Top Golf
bachelor party.
Okay, George.
I mean,
you're going to have to explain that one, buddy.
I did some people probably know this. We've probably talked about it before. I did a birthday party break for a bunch of like 10 to 12-year-old boys. The family paid me to come down, basically paid me by buying like $1,000 worth of hobby boxes. And I brought down, no, they supplied the TV. I brought down my laptop. I sat behind the TV hooked to the camera in the laptop, and they all drew teams out of a hat. And so they had like, out of the 12 kids, I think they each had 3 teams or something very similar to that. And then I opened up the packs on camera where they couldn't see me because I was just behind the TV, and they're all watching it gathered around the big TV at their table, eating cake. And, I'd pull a good card. Who's got the Broncos? And it was a good time. It was
awesome. I like that. I like the Top Golf one. Now we just got to mash those two together. A Top Golf birthday break.
Or what if it's not a birthday? What if we, like me, you, Jacob, whoever, what if we do a podcast break from Top Golf and open product while we?
I think this needs to happen. This needs to happen, and we need to bring a couple listeners. I know, and we need to bring along a couple listeners of the podcast. I think that would be good. Let's make it happen before it gets too cold. What do you guys think? Let us know in the chat. Is that something that you guys would like to see happen, and give some ideas about how we can make that happen? So
we could. George says, "I just wish I would do a break." You're not wrong, George. Stay tuned. We've got some. I know I've said stay tuned for about a year now, but Avery wants to come. All right. Yeah, that's what we need to do. We need to grab a couple of you guys to.
Absolutely.
I mean, Avery, you can sort the cards as we pull them. He'll be sitting off the side sorting them.
Oh my goodness. Avery's like, never mind. I don't want to sort. I just want to be part of the break. Let me close the loop on this. So John did say that there were 5 autos in the Braves in Allen and Ginter, and he is shy of Harris and Riley. Good luck with finishing out that set. That is super
Yeah, if
cool. And Avery
anyone's
is like,
listening and they have either a Michael Harris or Austin Riley autos, reach out to John, help him complete that. Was I
absolutely.
right on the other three, Albies, Acuna, and Strider, John? Let me know in the comments.
Let us know. All right, let's and thank you. We're gonna move on. Let me
I hope
move
Jacob's all
on.
right on the toilet.
Nope. He's having a crappy night. Listener questions. And if you have a question you'd like for us to answer live, let us know. Drop it in the comments. So here's the first one. In your experience, do you personally, who do you consider the top 3 running backs of all time? Is there a consensus on this within the card collecting community? Top 3 running backs of all time. I didn't give you the chance to prep for this, Josh, but I'm sure you have an opinion on this.
Ooh, that is a great question. It's always fun to debate the GOATs. So
Yeah.
the only problem here is that 2 of these guys had shortened careers. Oh, weird. So John says Glavin, Grissom, and Max Fried were free. Facebook user says Jim Brown. So yeah, like you're gonna have the Walter Paytons, the Jim Browns. He's probably right with Jim Brown. George knew where I was going with Bo Jackson. Barry Sanders were the 2 I was thinking of. Unfortunately, Emmett just played so long and had that great offensive line. So I mean, I think we gotta. I don't want to take anything away from how good he was, but Barry, Bo, Jim, Peyton. Man, those are some good ones.
Yeah.
You know, I'd put him in the top 10, but Adrian Peterson, I watched the
See, that's
highlights of
where
the game that he broke the single season rushing or the single game rushing record. I'm like, that dude was explosive.
Yeah, he was all. I mean, he was tough. I would say if you're gonna have Bo in there, then you got to talk about Gale Sayers. Um, you know, his career was shortened through knee injuries, and Bo's was shortened. You know, a good comp I think for Emmett Smith is like, you know, Cal Ripken, right? They just played for so long, just put the time in, never missed. But, you know, as far as the hobby is concerned, I think the one that stands out regardless is going to be Jim Brown, right? That's like, I think that's a consensus number 1. And then
Walter Payton.
And then Walter Payton, you know, there's Jim Brown, Walter Payton. But as far as the hobby is concerned, I mean, do those guys get the sort of love that GOATs are supposed to get with regards to the hobby?
You know, yeah, I would say, I mean, Jim Brown's rookie card in good condition is worth a lot of money, and Walter Payton's holds really good value again in really good condition. So all these are all, and Mackey and George, and I think these are all honorable mentions. They're just, you could argue in the top 10, 12 of all time, LT and Gurley, and you know, I mean, Frank Gore
played forever, right?
Played forever, but that there's something to be said for that.
I think what happens with the running back conversation is there, even more so with the quarterbacks. I think there has to be a winning element there. Like a quarterback, like a Dan Marino who never won anything, but is considered like just a sheer great passer, just because of the numbers. But like I could not tell you the starting running backs of the last 5 Super Bowl champions. And if any of them are on track to becoming the greatest running back, or in like the Mount Rushmore, running backs. I mean, where's Tony Dorsett in this? Like,
Mm-hmm.
he was a fantastic running back, right? I'm thinking back to when I was watching guys like Dorsett and Roger Craig, John Riggins. These guys. I mean, I think what goes against some of these great running backs is what's the average running back's career? It's something ridiculously short, right? It's like 3.5 seasons.
Right.
And so more than likely, if you get guys like LaDainian Tomlinson, Emmett, Adrian Peterson, guys that had careers that were more than a decade long, I mean, their numbers are going to be like, they're going to separate themselves just from longevity. But
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, for me, who would I enjoy collecting? It's for me. It's Bo Jackson, just because he played at Auburn. He played baseball as well. I have zero connection to Jim Brown. I certainly I know of his numbers and know of what he did outside of football, but like, for me, a Jim Brown rookie card wouldn't do anything for me.
It would do something for your bank account.
It would, but I mean, I
Much
wouldn't.
more than a Bo Jackson one would, I can assure you.
Look at Derek dropping the stats. Jim Brown is the only player to have an average carry over 5, an average over 100 yards a game. That's strong.
I think I got to put my stamp on Jim Brown being the greatest of all time, but yeah.
But as far as collectability, let's talk about collectability. I mean, is Jim Brown as collectible as any other running back in the history of
yeah. No,
cards?
you're just. I think that's apples to oranges. He doesn't have as many cards. He played so long ago that his rookie card is worth a fortune, and it's because and he only has the one, so it's not like So there's that compared to guys nowadays. Michael Jordan's a prime example, the greatest of all time, and the majority of his cards are in the 90s. And outside of those super rare inserts, his cards are just not valuable. So,
yeah.
But depends on, do you like to collect? I mean, if a guy jumped into this hobby and said, I want to collect Michael Jordan, boy, you have a smorgasbord of cards to go after. You can go after his inserts. You can go after his cheap base stuff. There's just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, thousands of Jordan cards to go after. Where if you're going to collect Jim Brown, you've got a few to choose from, and I guess you just chase and build up to the most valuable rookie you can get it. So I mean that's hard to compare the two. I think.
Let's jump back into the chat. So
collectability. PSA 10 Emmett or any other, or Barry or Bo or any, won't hold a candle to a PSA 10 Jim Brown rookie.
Oh gosh, is there even? I'd like to know what the pop on a PSA 10 Jim Brown rookie is.
And people are going to say, well, duh. But my point is that that you're just comparing two different things, unfortunately. Yeah. Now it'd be cool to do like running back collectability starting from the 80s till now. And that would be fair. Then you're comparing the LTs and the Emmets and the Barrys and the Bows and the, CJ2Ks and all those guys, where their hobby cards are a little closer. And Barry Sanders gets hobby love for sure.
Yep.
Emmett gets a little bit. I'd say Barry gets a little more. But...
Speaking of eras, another great segue. Gosh, you're on point today, Josh. What is the importance of keeping cards from the same era together for grading? Is this a thing? Like, I'm thinking that this person's asking this based on submitting cards either through a group submitter or personally. So, Josh, when you're going to try to keep people's submissions together, but when you guys take a submission, and let's just say you get some vintage, you get some modern, you get basketball, you get football, do you guys try to group those together, or you just submit them the way they come to you?
So all customer cards will get submitted together, of course, but we do have to separate because of the way PSA requires them, pre-modern and modern cards. So anything 1980 and before has to be sent with only 1980 and before cards, and 80 and after is modern stuff. So that's the only time we'll separate a customer's cards. The only other time would be if someone wants these cards submitted the bulk rate, just regular card grading, and then they've got two cards where they want the autograph and the card graded, so dual grade. Those will have to go on a separate submission number. But yeah, obviously we keep customer cards together so they come back together and they're done at the same time. But yeah, what's the importance of keeping cards from the same era together for grading? Really, it's just to follow the guidelines that PSA has. You know, they want them going to the right spot. And so I heard a customer tell me this past week that they had a vintage batch of cards at Beckett for grading, and they had sat there forever. They called them, and Beckett told them they only have 5 vintage graders. And so, again, this is just hearsay. I didn't hear this straight from Beckett's mouth, but if that's true, no wonder that it takes a while. And I've always said the vintage PSA stuff takes a lot longer than the modern. Yeah. And I said there's just probably a lot more modern graders than they have vintage graders, because they've got probably 75% to 25% modern cards coming in. So they need all those graders. So
right.
PSA's got a lot more than 5, I can assure you. But how crazy is that if Beckett only has 5 vintage graders at a time? Maybe.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Can't verify that, but if it is, that's our crazy stat for the week. Oh.
Derek has a question for us. With Harper's postseason run right now, how is his market looking? So, Josh, you grabbed a mouse. I'm assuming you're looking.
I was just looking at the current score. The Diamondbacks are up 4-1. So if they pull this off, the series tied, and we're crowning Harper a little early. But
let me pull this up. Bryce Harper, rookie.
I will say that it's shining a little bit of a spotlight on. Like I said, I sold a Harper rookie on Saturday. And I had a couple people ask here and there about Harper stuff, but I think he needs to win the World Series and win MVP, and then before you would see a noticeable spike, maybe. But there's just some guys that
I agree.
Yeah, there's just some guys the hobby just doesn't fawn over, and he seems to be one of them for some reason.
Yeah, so
I remember he had some spotlight on him when he won the Derby a few years back and really put on a show. But there's the one I sold, that Topps one.
This one here?
Above it. I think, is that a Topps one?
The variation? Yep. I love that card.
It looked more like that card. It wasn't the one below it. I've sold lots of that one below it. But
I mean, certainly, we'd have to just take a look at some past data on this. I could pull up Card Ladder, but anytime somebody's going on a run like this, his cards are going to pop, right? It's just a matter of if it's got staying power. Like if you are a Harper guy and you're not trying to take advantage of what he's doing now, and if they end up moving on to the World Series, if this is a play to where you buy now, you hope he goes to the World Series, and then you capitalize on that. Or if you really think that he's, Derek, let us know. Is this something you're asking because you think that 20 years from now, Harper's going to be looked at in the same way as some of the other all-time greats? So
Derek says, I'm going to need that Topps Now stare down card if they come out with it. or Stadium Club will steal that one. But
absolutely. So great question.
Yeah, he has a lot of those base rookie cards with the white borders, and there's just going to be a billion of those PSA 10s, and you can get those out of those complete sets. So there's going to be a lot of those out there. I don't think you'll ever see those do what Trout's update rookie does.
Yeah.
I sold a raw Trout update rookie at the Nashville show for $300. So a base Harper Topps rookie will never touch that price. And I think it's just because, like I said, the hobby and just too many of them.
Yeah. Great
But
point.
the,
All right.
the hobby loves that Topps update Trout. That's just you. There's no reason that base card raw should be $300.
Right.
But I got it easily for it, and hobby just loves that card.
All right, last question. Can you walk us through the process of redeeming? I think this needs to say redemption cards, and how does it work? What are the advantages or disadvantages of holding on to redemption versus selling it right away? Josh, because of the breaks that you do, you probably have seen more, or at least pulled more redemptions than the average collector.
Well, and I've seen billions of them pulled in the store too.
Right. So what's your take on this? Like I've never pulled a redemption. Like I've never gotten one in a break. I've never pulled one from a pack. So I'd have zero insight on what to do here.
Here's what you do.
What do you do?
You go to the Panini app. You scratch off the little code on the back of the redemption card. You redeem it, and then you wait about 2 years. And then when you don't get the card, you call Panini and you tell them, I've not received my redemption card. After about an hour on hold, you'll get a hold of someone. No, that's unfortunately the downside of the redemption process with Panini most of the time. And maybe when Panini goes away or Fanatics takes over most of this, that's one area they can straighten out. Maybe they'll have a better relationship with players, and the reason that there are redemption cards to begin with is because they haven't gotten that player to autograph for them yet. And so they put the redemption cards knowing that they've got a deal in place to get those autographs. And so a lot of the times it was like LaMelo Ball, for instance, and Luka Doncic. LaMelo's, all of his rookie autos were redemptions because he had not signed yet. Panini would tell you, you call up and say, I'm still waiting on my LaMelo redemption. And they would say, we haven't got him to sign yet. We're trying to get him signed. Or, hey, we finally got him. He's signing. You should have those cards in the near future. So that's the reason why redemptions exist. You don't want to, here's the defense of Panini. You don't want to not put those guys in product because you haven't gotten them to sign yet. So you have to put something like a redemption in there. It's an IOU of an autographed card. So there's two takes: sell it ASAP or hold on to it. But here's the gamble you pay. If you can redeem the redemption card and get the actual card in and list that on eBay, that card is going to sell for higher than the redemption card would. That's just a fact. But you can get that redemption card right up on eBay and sell it right away for less money. And then the buyer has the risk of waiting on it, hoping it gets fulfilled, whatever. So I'm in the camp of sell that redemption as fast as possible. Unless it's 9 months later, the redemption card hasn't expired, and you know that his autographs are out there, then sometimes those come really quickly. One funny story is we had a 2021 Donruss hobby box sitting on the shelf, sat there. Everyone was scared of it. It was the last hobby box. It sat there, and it was 2021. It was probably like $400 or something stupid. Sat there. Finally, a customer buys it. He came back in the next day to show us what he had pulled from it. This had a Justin Fields rookie downtown in the box that sat there forever. And you get one autograph per box. The autograph was a Trevor Lawrence rookie auto redemption card. And the redemption card had expired by a matter of days. Like almost like this was like, let's say it expired July of 22. This was like August 1st of 2022. And so he called Panini. The first person he talked to said, "Nah, I'm sorry. You should be more mindful of the cards you buy," was kind of what he was told.
Oh, wow.
And I said, "Yeah, you need to call back and talk to someone else." So he called back and talked to someone else, and they said, "Look, we can probably take care of you on that card." But crazy box for one, crazy story. The downside of redemptions, they do expire. And I know another guy that buys redemption cards, redeems them, and then takes the cards to the National, waits in line at Panini's booth, and says, "These cards I'm waiting on. Can you just cancel them out now and give me something?" And Panini will often at the National, they'll be gracious with their offerings. And so he'll often walk away with much better items than he would have gotten for that, old Vernon Davis redemption card or something. You know what I mean? So they'll say, "Here, we'll
Right.
give you one of these instead." And it's often better than that. So that's the ups and downs of redemption cards. I will say Topps is better. I will say Leaf is better. We've had people pull a card on Monday, redeem it online that night, and have it by Friday night. I mean, that crazy fast. That's very
Interesting.
rare, but I've heard of that happening. And Leaf is pretty good about it as well. So, but they're at the mercy of these players being able to. Here, one more story. Customer pulls LaMelo Ball rookie redemption mojo numbered to 25 out of the shop, puts it online just for kicks before he redeems it, gets a $9,000 offer for the card, decides to redeem the card instead and get the actual physical card. It took like 9 months to get that card.
Oh,
He finally
no.
got it. And of course, his stock had gone way down. Sent it to PSA, came back a 10, and now he's got the card, and he's asking $3,000 for it now, the physical card. But this was when LaMelo was really hot. This is when the hobby was during COVID, and the boxes were $1,800 a hobby box. So another downside, had he take that redemption card, thrown it up on there. We talked about it in the pregame. A bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. Take what you can get when you can get it. That's my long redemption answer. Sorry if I'm long-winded.
No, thanks. And thank you guys for dropping some questions and in the comments. Let us know if there's anything that we can help you guys with. But speaking of what we talked about in the pregame, we got a couple hits from the shop, don't we?
So we're going to talk about so we were going to talk about if you have it, Jacob had it teed up, but the Banchero Gold Kaboom that a customer had pulled from the shop a while back got sent to PSA through us. We submitted it for him. I like this. PSA always reaches out to you to say, "Hey, the card graded a 10, and we just want to make sure you're okay with the grading fee," because the grading fee is like $1,000 on this card. But
oh my gosh,
we were okay with it. The customer was okay with it. So there's the Banchero 10 that came back. I think we may have showed this off a little bit, but it's in the customer's hands now. He's got it on eBay, I think, and hopefully he doesn't care if I tell him. He's gotten a $15,000 offer on the card so far, and he's waiting for more. Here was one that sold at PWCC's auction, the exact same card, just different serial number, sold for $16,800. So you gotta kind of think that's kind of the floor on it. 15, 16, 17 is the floor, at least on that card. He's, like I said, hoping to get maybe closer to 20 on it, but we'll see. There's only 10 of it. We thought that would be a cool little story to show off. So I know we've showed that card off, but there was a recent actual sale of that exact same card.
Yeah. Crazy.
And then this isn't a hit from the shop. I didn't show off my one. Well, I bought several Brady cards from the Nashville show. These are all just smaller numbered cards that are worth $20 or less. But anytime I can grab serial numbered Brady cards, I got those. The only card I walked around and eyeballed and negotiated with, it wasn't even expensive, was this card. And I love what it looks like if you always want to see it. This is that 2008 Bowman Chrome, little black refractor Tom Brady card. So not super expensive. It'll probably go to
That's beautiful
grading at some point there, but yeah.
Who are you going to grade that with? Is this a rare edition thing, or is this going to be
this
SGC?
This is probably if it's black bordered, and if it were in worse condition, it would go to SGC just to be slabbed. But this one is in really good condition for being that old and being black bordered. So it's probably going to go to PSA. But
Excellent.
you have a card to show off.
I do not. As I spent an entire day at a card show and didn't pick up anything. Just sat there
You're
and
not even.
enjoyed.
You should show us the Lord of the Rings card so we can laugh at you.
I showed that last week and
I know.
got laughed at for it. So, all right, guys, we are about to wrap things up. As Josh mentioned, we are narrowing down a date for the next card night. I think it's shifted from the 17th to possibly the 18th. So once we get that hammered down, look for announcements on social media. Certainly, if you're part of our email list, you'll get notified there. And if you've made it this far, thank you. Please like, subscribe, comment, leave a review. Let us know how we're doing. Thanks to everybody in the comments. Josh, before we wrap things up, did you do your homework? I know I didn't, but you usually do.
I did.
What's your crazy stat of the week, Josh? And then we can get these guys out of here.
It's baseball related. Check this out. This is kind of a cool stat. So in 1999, Mark McGwire's stat line was 65 home runs and 147 RBIs. He finished 5th in the National League MVP voting. This is it almost gets crazier. This is the side note to it. Sammy Sosa's 63 home runs and 141 RBIs had him finish 9th in MVP voting. I actually don't know who won the 1999 National League MVP. I'm going to ask Siri right now. Let's see. Hey, Siri, who won the 1999 National League MVP award? So this says Kurt Warner, but
I'm sure he had a good year, but he did not have that good of a year.
I was like, man, Kurt Warner played football.
MVP.
Who won the 1999 Baseball National League MVP award?
Pudge Rodriguez.
Pudge?
In the AL. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Pedro Alomar. But that's AL. Chipper won National League, right? Is this 1999? Yeah. Chipper won. So Pudge won AL.
Yep.
Chipper won NL. He had
2 nicknames.
So Chipper had batted .319, 45 home runs, 110 RBIs. They probably looked at him and said, look, this dude's not on steroids. Let's give him the
Neither was anybody named Pudge, right?
Yeah. That is crazy. Wow. Sosa was 9th and McGwire was 5th. Wow. There you go. That, folks, is a crazy stat.
That is. Josh, good spending the hour with you here. Jacob, we hope you're feeling better.
Explosive diarrhea.
And guys, thanks for joining us. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye. Peace.
And I don't know how to do this.